All right, everybody, how you doing? Let's see who we got here. Geo harassing everybody pre live. Geo, what's up? Justin Emo Howling Wolf, what's up? What else we got here? Buzz, what's up? Geo, Justin Geo, Y Rock, what's up? Shareholders reporting in. Brandon Mitchell, there we go. Guys, please subscribe to Attack. Justin Garza, Disabled Outcast, what's up? Rock M Roll, yes. Mr. Denicola, Mr. John Denicola, George Daly, Q Bug, what's up? What's up? CFF, what's up? The Steel Man, what's up? Hey, Bucker Pucker Buttface. I almost said Bucker Puttface. Ventura County Police Watch, what's up? Seven Cities Kid, NorCal Press, what's up? Richard Fulmer, hey, I didn't get notification of last live. I'm sorry, dude. Latin Indian, what's up? Jamma, what's up? What's up? What's up? Man, it's too many. Dirk the Daring, what's up? What's up? All right, let's get started. So, in the live stream with me today is the Reluctant Prophet. And there he is. Hi, sir. How are you?
What's going on, everyone? I'm doing pretty
Uh,
good. How you doing, John?
Hanging in there, man. I want to cover not only Lane Myers, but I want to know the stuff you're dealing with over the past 6 years and the story about Mr. Gold. Tell me about Mr. Gold first before we go anywhere else.
Um,
Who is Mr. Gold?
so because of the issues that I had and the TPD helicopter flying over my house and me posting videos, Mr. Gold was searching out surveillance in Arizona, and he came across my YouTube video. I'd never heard of me before.
Mm-hmm.
So he reached out to me and told me about his story, said he was having issues with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, stalking him, harassing him, basically the same thing that was going on with me. And so I sat down and met him last March, 1 year ago this month. And the night we met, the TPD helicopter flew over the restaurant and circled the night we met. And I got involved in this story because it ended up being somebody I went to high school with was the one that was accusing him of these crimes. I
What were
knew
they
that
accusing him
he making noise at his house. So this guy bought $1 million house in the middle of a rural area with 3.5 acres, and his neighbors are saying that they can hear him late at night. Sounds like he had something banging or he had an air horn, and none of those have been substantiated through anything but an audio recording.
Okay.
So Mr. Gold has probably 75 to 100 police reports put on him by his neighbors. I think there's 100 hours of body cam we're still waiting for. And he moved out of Arizona a week or two after we met, because as soon as we met, the aerial surveillance started ramping up big time in how he felt. So he wanted to get out of Arizona, fight these charges, get done with this, move on with his life, and never step foot back in Arizona again.
So Mr. Gold buys $1 million property in Tucson, Arizona, on 3 acres. His neighbors saying he was being too loud in his own house. They have an audio recording which they could have recorded anywhere, right? Basically.
Yes, correct.
So that still sounds like hearsay to me. That's not evidence. And then they called the cops on him, and the Tucson PD went after him and started flying helicopters over his house. Why?
Well, it wasn't really the TPD; it was the Pima County Sheriff's Department.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
what was their
this
deal?
story, this story is still evolving. We're
Mm-hmm.
finding out that the neighbor across the street is involved with a charity. Mr. Gold wanted to keep the charity out of it, but he owns the world's largest dog charity, or one of them. And the neighbors across the street are involved with a charity in Tucson that is stealing his name. These people are also involved with the sheriff's department. I guess they want to start a chain of these uh, charities locations. And so we're finding out that it's more than just him being there making noise. They're basically trying to run him out of town and destroy his life and his charity.
So Mr. Gold had a dog, one of the largest dog charity. What is a dog charity? You donate and they do what with that? Find dogs homes?
You don't.
What?
Yes, he does. He's like a dating site for dogs, is what he's got.
In other words,
So
they match people to dogs.
correct. There's people in different states and cities that can go on his website, put the dog on there, say that it needs a home, and he'll match them up with somebody that's looking for an animal.
And that's how he made his money, I'm assuming.
And other things. I mean, this guy, he's an eccentric type of a guy. He sold a website back in the Elon and that kind of stuff days. So he's done a lot of different stuff, but his main focus right now is the dog charity, and that sustains his property and what he's got going on, I guess.
And the people across the street also have a dog charity. Now, is that coincidence, or they started before or after? They already have one when he moved in? How's that work?
It was right around the time that he moved in that he started having troubles, and he didn't even know about this dog charity. I don't know the exact. I got to talk to him again to find out when he exactly found out about the Tucson charity that had the same name. Well, the neighbor across the street, we didn't even know that until just actually a few weeks ago, because she runs a charity called it has to do with greyhounds, and it wasn't the one with Mr. Gold. So we didn't put the two and two. We just thought maybe the neighbor, was boarding greyhounds, and she wanted to walk down the street and didn't want to deal with Mr. Gold and his dogs. We thought that kind of may be the deal, and the other neighbor wanted to buy his property. Well, come to find out that the other neighbor who's making a complaint works for the real estate company that called him out of blue and said that there's an LLC of some of the neighbors that want to buy his property. And then the neighbor lady across the street, after we find out that there's this charity in Tucson that's stealing his name, Mr. Gold has found some connections between the neighbor across the street, some pretty close connections between her and this charity that's stealing his name, that is basically trying to put his charity out of business and continue off of his name.
And like they're using the same exact name of his charity to run theirs.
Well, they added the city at the end of it. It's called rescueme.org, and the one in Tucson is rescuemetucson.org. And he's had his since like the early 90s or the 80s. So this guy, he's the patent and the copyright is already established, but now he's having to go to a copyright lawyer or a trademark lawyer and fight for his charity now after he's fought all of these charges.
And the people who started this charity have close connections with a realtor in the area and the Pima County Sheriff's Office?
They have connections with, he has 3 neighbors around him that have got together and were filing these 11 charges that he had. The lady behind him, we just come to find out she works for Long Realty. The neighbor next to him is the rich guy, and he's got connections with a really high-profile lawyer in town that seems to be pushing all of this. And then the other neighbor across the street, she's the one with the dog rescue. So these 3 people together have said Mr. Gold is disturbing their peace. Sheriff's Department has filed these charges on him. Well, we just recently found out. We knew about the offer a long time ago, and we knew that because the people at Long really admitted that there was an LLC of some neighbors that was together trying to buy his property. And this call came out of the blue right after Laura Conover, which this is where it all ties in. She's the Pima County attorney. She and her office were forcing Mr. Gold, because of these charges, to sell his home. That was a provision in his plea agreement, to sell his home and to move out of Arizona. Well, not to move out of Arizona, but sell his home.
What were his charges again? What's he charged with?
Disorderly conduct for making noise for 30 seconds at 1:30 in the morning.
Isn't that something? So what? That's a misdemeanor or what?
Yes, there were 11 misdemeanors.
11 misdemeanors for 30 seconds of audio?
Yes.
11 misdemeanors.
Yes.
For 30 seconds of audio.
Oh, it gets even better, man.
Go ahead.
So that's when I get involved. And seriously, Mr. Gold, you know, his neighbors think that I'm being paid to disseminate and put out these stories. I'm not being paid. I actually wanted to put out his story earlier, and him and his lawyers were telling me they didn't want public, you know, they didn't want that scrutiny on him. So I held off until August. August 1st, he tried to go into a hearing, and that was the first time he posted a video. And the Judge Ball, who all with the Lane Myers thing, you know, that's how all this stuff is all interconnected with all these same people. So Judge Ball is his judge, and instead of letting him in the hearing by Zoom, they kept him in the back, and the court lady was threatening him with more charges and felonies because of the video that was posted. So as soon as that video was posted, that just blew up everything. And the neighbor's lawyer started sending threatening letters. I got a threatening letter saying it was dangerous for me to continue putting videos out. Mr. Gold, the harassment's ramped up on him. They threatened him with more charges. Well, we kept going. Well, now this is where Lane Myers is introduced into the story, because after Mr. Gold's first hearing, I went to it, and after putting those videos out, and this was in September, I think. So a month later, I went to one of Mr. Gold's hearings after I posted about him not being able to get in the Zoom hearing. So while I'm sitting there, the same lady that was threatening Mr. Gold pointed me out to the judge in the audience. So she knew who I was. The Judge Ball.
Tell me who this lady is again.
This lady is his court reporter or court clerk. So she works directly with Judge Ball.
And then Judge Ball's the guy who filed a lawsuit against you for saying that Lane Myers was kidnapped by him when he was actually.
Correct. And this is what's so.
So she points you out.
She points me out. Have a conversation. It's a weird conversation, you know, just talking to somebody in the gallery out of nowhere. So I thought it was strange, but he's pointing out he knew who I was. And to be honest with you, I thought he wanted me to do an outburst because the security walked in the courtroom as soon as I started having a conversation with him. So that was with the judge, yeah. And he was the one that initiated the conversation with me. So get done there. That's weird. And then Mr. Gold has another court hearing. Well, Lane has a court hearing with Mr. Ball, Judge Ball. That's the one where he goes off the rails at the first one. And then Mr. Gold or Judge Ball.
That's when the judge went off the rails, right?
No, that's the first hearing was when Lane went off the rails. And then he came back for a second. That was his initial appearance with Judge Ball.
For what? For what charge?
I believe that one was the one that was moved over, and then that was going to be the U-turn.
Okay.
I think that was going to be the U-turn.
All right.
But anyways, he has the first hearing. He has the first hearing, and he kind of goes off on Judge Ball. They finish the hearing. Then the next hearing, when we go back in there, Judge Ball is going to have this, diatribe all made up and ready to go. And that's when he proceeds with that. Lane Myers interrupts him. He gets taken to jail. I put out the kidnapped. I put out the video saying that he was kidnapped. The following Monday or the following Saturday, Judge Ball emails me and, basically a veiled threat about taking the video down.
Mm-hmm.
That's on Saturday. Mr. Gold has a hearing on Monday for these 11 charges. We go into the hearing on Monday, 11 charges. Judge Ball dismisses them. A few hours later, he goes and files the lawsuit on me.
So he dismisses all the charges against Mr. Gold. Mr. Gold is free and clear. And then immediately he gets his panties in a bunch and files a lawsuit against you for, what's it called? Something hyperbole?
Rhetorical hyperbole. I mean, it's actually defamation, but to counter that and to say that it was just rhetorical hyperbole, that's under the anti-SLAPP. Yeah. He
sued you because you said he kidnapped Lane, which he did because he was holding him in contempt, said take him into custody, And then when they took him to the jail's like, this is not an arrestable offense. So then it becomes kidnapping. It's not even rhetorical to me. It's kidnapping. So
Sure.
he says you defamed them by saying the word kidnapping. And then your counter argument is, no, that's rhetorical hyperbole.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Well,
so
obviously you have to fight it in a legal way. You can't just say that it's true, because if you take it as fact and say it's true, then you're arguing and having to fight a whole nother fight. So
okay, so let's finish up with Mr. Gold. Mr. Gold has dismissed all 11 charges.
no. Mr. Gold is only free for 3 days.
So his 11 charges are dismissed. Judge Ballsack files a defamation lawsuit against you, and then 3 days later, what happens?
So the dismissal and the charges were December 20th. So now, like I said, I got involved with videos on August. Come December 20th, dismisses the charges. And then 3 days later, a claim from August 13th. Now, remember, it's all started in August. Now, they dismissed all the charges 3 days later. We find a charge on the computer for Mr. Gold ordering Uber Eats to his neighbor to harass him. And that was on August 13th, 2024.
This is on December 23rd, 2024. They're saying he ordered Uber Eats to his neighbor's house back in August of the same year.
Yes.
So after the 11 charges get dismissed, then they all of a sudden they go retroactively back to August and say Mr. Gold ordered Uber Eats to his neighbor's house. Yes. And how is that illegal? Exactly.
They're claiming it's harassment. And the wild thing about it is this is when they started trying to get a search warrant. And then in November, they were actually able to get a search warrant, and they got all of his credit card receipts and all of his Uber Eats orders through Uber Eats.
All right.
And so we didn't actually find that's out until a couple of weeks ago. So this, I got a police report that was supposed to be not for public dissemination. I don't know how we were able to get it, but so now they're actually filing police reports since August, and they're including me in the police reports, saying that I'm trying to threaten, intimidate his neighbors. Mr. Gold is paying me to do this.
Wow.
Well, we just found the police report just a couple of weeks ago. And so they're adding my name in, and they've got one running police report that starts in August. It's 10 pages long. I have it. And it goes through August and then November, December, and each one of them has a different complaint in there. And a few of them have me involved in Mr. Gold. And like I said, I sent a letter because I know this guy and I grew up with him. Like just saying, hey, man, the guy moved out of town. Just fucking leave him alone. And so he called the police on me about the letter and said that I maybe tried to threaten or intimidate him or accuse him of some crimes.
Mr. Gold left. When did he leave town?
Yes. And then he left 1 year ago to the beginning of March.
March 2024.
Yep.
So he was gone when the charges and everything was filed and everything?
Yes. So apparently the Uber Eats called and said that a neighbor came out and confronted him. And the way that it works is, see what the sheriff's department and everybody's playing the game. Mr. Gold has a pretty decent sized property. Well, to understand, there's two directions Mr. Gold can come into his house. He can come in on this back main road, or he can come in on this other road that's a dead end, and it used to dead end before he moved there into the neighbors, where the neighbors' driveways were. Well, it goes further, and Mr. Gold already had a gate there when he moved in. Well, this goes back to the charity. Like, this story is so complicated. This goes back to the charity, and as soon as Mr. Gold moved into the property, that's the first hint he had, was the zoning department called him and said somebody made a complaint about his dogs. Well, he followed all the rules when he came and moved here. Obviously, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you're going to do your due diligence. So he made sure everything was good to go. But to make sure that he was good. In Arizona, I think you can have up to like 10 dogs per household or something like that on a rural area. Well, the property has 2 homes on it. So being prudent, he says, you know what, I'm just going to split these 2 addresses up. That way, if they did ever come after me, I only have 20 dogs, 10 for this house, 10 for this house. Now they can't do anything, which they've never been able to do anything with the dogs. So what that does now is this address over here, when he orders Uber Eats, it brings them past the neighbor's house. And he had a tenant with the address on the other side. So when he would now order Uber Eats, it would come over to this other fence. And yes, his wife, at some point, they were afraid to go down there. Apparently they ordered some pumpkins and his kids took the pumpkins. The neighbor's kids took the pumpkins, and he said that they stole them. I don't want to claim that anybody stole anything, but I know that gate right next to each other was contentious. And the Uber Eats driver came down, made a complaint about the neighbor confronting him. But we have never seen any video of the Uber Eats coming to the guy's house and saying, hey, this was ordered here for this address or anything like that.
No, but but through the search warrant you somehow got, did he order Uber Eats to one of the neighbors?
No, but I didn't see. That's the other thing too, is so 3 days later, they charged Mr. Gold with this charge, the Uber Eats. I went kind of on a rampage on YouTube, calling out the prosecutor and Laura Conover and all these people. 3 days later, they dropped his Uber Eats charge without him even going to court. So they've dropped all of the charges. I think it was the end of December that they dropped the Uber Eats charge. Like I said, we didn't find out about this search warrant until a couple of weeks ago with this police report we got. I called Superior Court to get a copy of the search warrant for the Uber Eats, which obviously, like I said, at the end of December, the case was closed. Well, it may be an ongoing investigation. So now, like I said, that police report had my name in there. So I don't know if they've added me to the search warrant now. But when I called down to Superior Court, this search warrant, even though the charges are gone, is still under seal. I can't see it. So I don't know what's in the search warrant.
Even if he ordered food to their house, like, so what's the harassment? They got free food? Is it food they didn't like? I'm confused there. What's the problem?
I know it's not even like they had to pay for it.
Please, somebody please send me Uber Eats. I won't file charges of harassment. I promise. Do it 3 times a day. Anyway, go on. So Mr. Gold, hold on. Mr. Gold at the end of 2024 is free and clear from all charges again, right?
Correct.
All right, go ahead.
And I actually promised him and told him that if he would work with me, we'd get these charges dismissed by the end of the year. I think it was maybe a week or so late because I think it might have been January 10th, the year anniversary of no, that's when, I don't know. I can't remember the dates, but the year anniversary, because they had brought the charges January 10th, 2024. And I think we had the charges all dismissed by the end of the year. But I mean, so he's got all the charges dismissed. We don't know about this search warrant, right? Well, in the last few weeks, months, the sheriff's department has still been sending out welfare checks for Mr. Gold. Nobody's requested the welfare checks except for his neighbors. They've still been sending welfare checks out to him.
To a property he doesn't live at.
A property he doesn't live at. They've still been for over a year. And last 2 weeks ago, they called him on the phone and was asking him questions. It's so much bigger. There was some Apple iPhones that were ordered to Georgia. That was last year in November. There were some iPhones. See, that's the whole thing with the search warrant. They were manipulating and doing some weird stuff because he got that same credit card that they got the search warrant for. That credit card was used to order 2 Apple iPhones to Georgia. He saw that the first day, called Apple, told Apple, hey, I didn't order these phones. I don't know how they're being ordered on my thing. I didn't even get a notification saying that I ordered these phones. So Apple says, well, we'll do what we can to intercept them or send them back. And he says, yes, please do. 2 days later, Mr. Gold gets a call from a sheriff's department in Georgia. The sheriff's department in Georgia says, hey, we intercepted these phones. Apple called us and said that these were stolen phones. the sheriff's department says, well, Mr. Gold, you need to call the Pima County Sheriff's Department and let them know what's going on. We will send them the phones, and then they will send them to you. Yeah, obviously, at this point, Mr. Gold has no desire to call Pima County Sheriff's Department. So he just kind of lets it. Yeah, he just lets it go. He said, look, you just send the phones back to Apple. I don't, you know what I mean? I didn't order it. I called, reported it, send the phones back. Well, he gets a call out of nowhere from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Apparently, the Sheriff's Department there called up the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Well, Sergeant Gibson and the mental health team over here are like a dog with a bone. So they take this. Now they're starting to talk. No, what was the name? I can't. Barkman. Sergeant Barkman called Mr. Gold and was asking him about these phones, alluding to maybe he was trying to do something with fraudulent. So now it's interstate fraud that now that they're asking him questions about, and he just told her, he's like, look, I got to go. I'm not talking to you. And he hangs up on her. Well, apparently the phones go away. The sheriff calls him from Georgia and says, I don't know what's going on with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, but they don't really like you and something weird's going on. Well, that all goes away. The phones disappear. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Gold gets a phone call from a Georgia cell phone number, and lo and behold, he picks it up and it's a Pima County Sheriff's Department. And he starts talking to the Pima County Sheriff. He starts asking them questions. Mr. Gold hangs up on the guy. Mr. Gold gives me the number. I call it back, and it says, the law enforcement at this number has not called you, so you cannot be connected or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that in one of your videos. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all going on right now with us finding the search warrant. So we think all that kind of stuff was connected with the phones and everything going on. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
So as far as charges go, Mr. Gold doesn't have any more charges pending, but they're still trying to F with him, right?
Correct.
And he's left the state of Arizona over a year ago.
And never intends to. He's scared to death to set foot back in Arizona. He thinks that they're going to grab him and put him in a mental institution.
All right. So now, thank you for clearing that up.
Sure.
So now let's move on to, you've been living where you're at for a couple decades, right? At least?
Yeah, almost 30 years.
33 decades.
Yeah.
10 years. You've been living wherever you're at. And then 6 years ago, 2019, a big construction company, bought a tract of land there and started building homes. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, kind of. It first started out in 2019 with the Pima County Sewer Department showing up one day, opening up a 60-foot wide path behind me and my neighbors, like upstream in a floodplain, and installing the sewer. So rain comes, floods the sewer. My community is all on wells. So as soon as the sewage overflows and goes through our property, it contaminates our property, our well, all that stuff. So it started out with the sewer line right behind my place. Then the development started right after that, the dust, the trash, the flooding.
What's the construction company?
The development is Richmond American Construction, and the construction company that was doing the groundbreaking was Desert Earth Contracting.
Okay. And they were so I guess there's an ordinance or something there, a law that says they can't start working until at least 7 in the morning, right?
Well, correct. Partly correct. Yeah, it's right. Half of the year they can start at 7, and that's in the wintertime. Mm-hmm. And the other half of the year they can start at 6 o'clock in the summertime. Obviously, it's hotter here in Arizona, so they let them start an hour earlier. Well, it's either 6 or 7. These people were starting. The water truck out there one morning after I made a complaint was out there at 3:30 in the morning filling the water truck behind my house. The first time.
How close to your home is this going on?
75, 100 feet.
Feet or yards?
Feet. Yeah, no, it's feet.
If you could throw a golf ball and hit these guys.
I could throw my dog and hit these guys. The guy, literally the corner of my fence, the guy was parking and urinating right outside of my fence when they first broke ground.
Okay. All right. Go
and
on.
they're parking big, huge earth movers and graders right behind my house, firing them up at 4 a.m. So let's jump back to the video that you were talking, me and you were our conversation earlier about the patterns and practices of the sheriff's department. Okay.
Yeah.
Them trying to make a nuisance out of you, or they have the neighborhood problems division. Well, I have the problem with my crazy neighbor calling the police on me for passing her on the road. Well, that got me involved with Deputy Knurr. This was when the sewer line was going in. I didn't have any issues with the sewer line. To be honest with you, that company, Borderland, shout out to them. Even though they were building a sewer line behind me, they didn't fire anything up until 7:01, man. They were very respectable. They actually came out. They brought hundreds of tons of dirt. They smoothed out our road after they got done. Best construction company I've ever had work around my house. And so that all started. But during that time, with my neighbor calling the police on me, I had met Deputy Knurr, who was in a new development running down the road. I honked at him. He sent 2 deputies over to my house to threaten me. I went and made my first complaint at the sheriff's department. Once I made the complaint, he filed an injunction of harassment. We went to court. I lost the injunction of harassment. You know, the judge took his wife and kid, but that's when the sheriff's department deemed me in the neighborhood problems division and started that whole. Go ahead.
You beeped at Deputy Knurr for what? What was he doing?
All right. So the way it went down was I met the guy 2 times in my entire life. Okay. I was running down. We have this really tight road coming into the neighborhood that is pretty swervy and you can't see. Well, he was running down the road and almost caused a head-on collision the first time I met him. So I stopped, had a conversation with him and said, hey, man, there's a railroad track. There's 2 high schools over here. I said, it's dangerous to run on the road. And just turn it. He's like, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who you're talking to. And I said, well, you sound like a douchebag cop or a douchebag military guy. And if you get run over, it's not going to be on my conscience. And I drove off. Well, he
was on foot.
Yeah, he was jogging down the road.
All right.
And so he took that as a threat. And he in his police report, he says that he called in his sheriff and said an aggressive guy stopped and said that he shouldn't be running down the road. That's what started the whole thing off. 3 or 4 months later, I was just coming back for lunch. Go ahead.
No. I was saying thank you to Nimrod. Go ahead.
Oh, 3 or 4 months later.
Hold on. He took it as a threat, and he sent 2 deputies to
No.
house.
This didn't happen. No. This was the first time I met him. I just skipped that part with the honking. So 4 months later, I go up to Subway to get a Subway sandwich. I'm coming back, and now we're going around the sharpest curve. There's been like 6 or 7 flip over accidents there. So I give the old beep, beep, you know what I mean? Safety going by. And plus, I think he's a dickhead. So I do that, drive by one time. That's when the deputies came to my house. That's when the whole thing started with them.
What did they say?
They said they came up on the porch. There was actually 2 of them. One of them, actually, I didn't have a problem with. He's the one that had never lied in his report and actually exonerated me. The other deputy came up to me on the porch and threatened me and said, you will not talk to him. You will not look at him. You will not honk at him. And I was like, hey, man, you better get the fuck out of here. You're trespassing. And so the other deputy stepped in and I said, hey, man, tell this fucking guy you better go in the fucking truck and get the fuck out of my yard. The other deputy came in, smoothed it over and said, hey, this guy, I said, I didn't know he was a deputy at this time. And that's what I said. I said, you're coming over to my house because I honked at somebody. I said, you're going to have to tell me, which 100 people I honked at, in the last fucking week. But you're coming over to, how many times do you come over to somebody's house because somebody calls you and says they were honked at? This has got to be one of your buddies, or this got to be one of your cops. And that's when he admitted that it was a sheriff deputy. Once I find that out, and I'm like, fuck this guy. He's going to send deputies over to threaten me. I went down, filed the complaint. 10 days later, the deputy files an injunction of harassment on me. We go to the court hearing, and that was on July 3rd. They ruined my 4th of July. Go into the court hearing. He totally fucking lied. He said that I went by his house and stopped in front of his house to mean mug him while he was getting in his patrol vehicle.
Wow.
And that his family was afraid to even come home. So they did that. The injunction went through. They took his wife and his kid off. This is July 3rd. So we have an injunction of harassment. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'll just move on.
2024?
No, this is 2019. This is before all the construction. So this is where
2019, you went to a injunction hearing and lost.
I lost. They put the injunction.
They put an injunction on you. You're not to contact him, email him through third party or any other way for how long?
A year.
Okay.
I never saw him again. I never talked to him again. 5 months later, on November 5th or something, I got a phone call and they said, Mr. Kelly, you have court next week for your criminal charges. I said, well, what are you talking about? You have criminal charges from June 1st for harassment and disorderly conduct for honking at one of your neighbors. So after all this happened, never talked to the guy, the Laura Conover's office decided to maliciously prosecute me 5 months later for honking at this guy.
What's the charge? Oh, violation of the injunction?
No, they didn't even do that. No, because they charged me for a crime for the same day as the injunction of harassment. So they got their June 1st was the day that I honked at him. A month later, he got the injunction. 5 months later, they added criminal charges and called me on the phone to charge me for disorderly conduct and harassment.
Hey, 1 second. I think I put a Nimrod in timeout by accident, guys. If one of you guys with a wrench could on whatever I did, because I messed up. Sorry, dude. Go ahead.
Yeah. So those charges. So that happened in 2009, and if we go back to the construction, that was starting around 2019, right? Or not 2009, 2019. So the construction was starting at 2019, and these people were working at 3 o'clock in the morning, like every morning with earth movers out behind my house. The dust, I had to take my pool down because I couldn't even keep the dust out of my pool. They had no water trucks. They're pissing out behind my house. Like, it was ridiculous. So I called I didn't even know who Richmond was at this time. The only people that had showed up on site was this Desert Earth, and they were doing the groundbreaking. So the only person I knew to call was this owner of Desert Earth. I called him, had a few nice conversations at the beginning and said, hey, man, this is kind of ridiculous. Don't have your guys working out here early. And that never stopped. So a year goes by. Come 2020, I'm over it. And I just get my charges dismissed with Deputy Knurr after spending $10,000 to hire a lawyer. Yeah. So I get the charges dismissed, and I send him an email, and I'm like, look, you guys need to stop working early. I've already made several complaints. If you guys don't stop working early, I'm going to call the sheriff's department. Well, they responded with that email by going down to the county the next day and getting a special permit to work at 2 a.m. in the morning. And they set up a spotlight at 2 a.m. in the morning in my back window. So as a man and them doing that, I can sure you understand, and we live in the middle of fucking nowhere. 270 degrees was empty desert. They could have pointed this light in that direction. It was in my back window. So that was the point when I said, okay, I am going to sue them. And if I don't call the sheriff's department, I didn't want to after what happened with Deputy Knurr. And I said, if I don't call the sheriff's department and take these people to court, the first thing that's going to happen, the judge is going to say, well, did you call the sheriff's department? I'd say no. They'd say, well, you should have done that, case dismissed. So I felt it was in my best interest to call the sheriff's department to document it. I call the sheriff's department to document it. The first one comes out. She was ultimately the last person that kidnapped me. She comes out, and I tell her about the trash and stuff. She drives back there, calls me on a voicemail and says, yeah, I see some trash back there, but You know, I don't know whose it is. It probably came from the development, but I don't know. And then in her police report, she writes there was no trash back there. So dealing with the sheriff's department, all this shit, and then she goes and lies on the first police report. Call the next guy out about backup alarms. He calls me back and says, well, I looked in the ordinance and backup alarms are a safety thing and they're exempt from the ordinance. I said, yeah, but what about the construction vehicle that's driving around the lot doing construction? That's not breaking the ordinance. So he said, yeah, that's breaking the ordinance. We'll give them a warning. The next guy comes out. This is Iverson, and he's the key to the whole patterns and practices. He comes out, and he's the most aggressive. He calls me on the phone, and he tells me to start videotaping the contractors. And the videotaping is what made them fly off the handle. You know how people act when you pick up a camera and start filming them. You know what I mean?
Made who fly off the handle? The construction company or the cops?
Oh, the construction companies, man. If I now I wake up in the morning, you know, you can sit on your porch all day long with your phone and try and because at this point I'm documenting for a lawsuit. That's in my mind.
Yeah.
So I don't want to stand on my porch. I want to go out there and see. I need to see the company who's out there. I'm not going to be rude to the person, but it's a public street. It's my neighborhood. I walk out there every morning. I have every right to go out there and see who it is. So I start documenting it. Well, I'm out there in my car at 5 a.m, and the Desert Earth guy sees me. He comes over behind my house, starts yelling at me, kicking at my dog, telling me he's going to kick my dog.
Who did this?
One of the Desert Earth construction workers. So
okay.
After they do this, get the permit, the guy's behind my house telling me he's going to kick my dog, and all I want these people to do is stop working early, man.
Yeah.
Pick up their trash, water the ground. So my dogs have valley fever now, which I don't know if you know, that's a deadly disease. It costs thousands of dollars for the medication. We've lived out here 30 years. Not one animal has ever had valley fever. As soon as they start kicking up dust blowing in my yard, my dogs, and I actually tested positive for valley fever. So we got all that.
What is
valley fever? It's a deadly fungus that lives just underneath the layer of dirt in the desert Southwest. And when it's disturbed, it gets into the air, it gets into your lungs, and it mimics kind of like Lyme disease, makes people tired, lethargic, but it can end up messing up your nervous system, and you can end up dying from it if you don't get treated.
Okay.
So that's all going on for the first year. So like I said, I called Deputy Lumia, called the next guy out. The third guy out is Iverson, and he tells me that, yes, you know, oh no, that's not it. The owner of this is when the Desert Earth decided to start lying. Desert Earth said that I called them on the phone, left a voicemail screaming and yelling with the F this, F that. I have the voicemail. He filed a false police report. The next time they came out, this is when the deputy said that I was trespassing, damaging their property. As you can see, every time I called them out, they lied, they escalated it, they started to turn it around on me. And on that video, that deputy says, Mr. Kelly, we all understand that they're violating your rights. We all understand that, or not violating your rights. We all understand they're disturbing your peace.
Yes.
So they're admitting it at this time. Well, at this time, I'm now getting nervous to call the sheriff's department. So I don't want to call the sheriff's department anymore. I think I called them one more time because they were out there working at 12:30 at night. Hey, Chuck Bronson, how's it going, bud? So they were out there working at 12:30 at night. I called them one more time. The sheriff deputy calls me on the phone and says, hey, man, we told them to wrap up what they're doing and go home. I said, so if I was robbing a bank, you would come out and tell me to wrap up and go home? He's like, yeah, we'd tell you probably to finish up and go home. I was like, okay, thanks, bye. Yeah, that's the service I got. Now, meanwhile, Mr. Gold is over. Now, that's what infuriates me even more. Now, let's segue to Mr. Gold over here making 30 seconds of noise at 1:30 in the morning, and he's got detectives hiding out in the desert trying to fucking watch him, and he's got 11 charges. Meanwhile, I'm over here with these people who are disturbing my peace now for 6 years, and the sheriff's department, the county, Laura Conover's office won't do anything. So
are you and Mr. Gold neighbors?
We have the same type of property. He lives in a little bit more upscale area north to me, but it's the same acreage type rural homestead property.
Okay.
So that's the final time I called the deputies out. Well, At this point, I'm even nervous to videotape them. So now I'm like, okay, I'm just going to document stuff with a drone. So I start flying a drone over. Guess what? Now Desert Earth starts calling the sheriff's department and says that I'm harassing his guys with a drone. I never flew it close to them. I never flew it low. I'm just, again, because not only is the trash, the dust, this stuff, there's also a flooding issue. They built this property in a floodplain. They raised it up 4 feet. And we'd have already been complaining before this property got there that they were corralling the water and sending more water toward our properties. And when this property got here, it's going to be even worse. Well, lo and behold, the county had them sign something that says that they won't hold the county liable if they flood us out. So they obviously already know about the flooding. They're making them sign some special provision. And so the flooding is what I wanted to document. And as soon as I made the flooding report, I made a complaint about the flooding, and that's when all hell broke loose. A realtor got a hold of it because their whole end of their development filled up with water. So a realtor got involved. She posted the picture online. Richmond found out about it. Now all of the real estate agents in town are questioning why there's water in the end of this development. I filed the complaint. And Richmond and the county's solution was to take a sledgehammer and knock holes in the block wall and let all that water drain out through my property. All this new asphalt, the oils, all that stuff. Dude, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on citrus trees. I mean, like, it's so big what's going on. And then, so the flooding goes through. They do all that. I'm trying to file all these complaints. The flood department comes. The flood department tells me to go film. So now this is when I go walk over there on the sidewalk, and I'm going to film the flooding in the area a few days later. Before I got out there, Richmond, after I made the flooding complaint, they called the sheriff's department and said that I caused the flooding by driving my four-wheeler on their berms, and made a police report and trespassed me. Well,
Trespass you from where?
The entire neighborhood, the public trail behind my house. So what they did is after I got that phone call, they came out there with no trespassing signs on a public trail and pointed it right towards the camera in the corner of my property and pounded in a no trespassing sign pointed towards me in a public trail. So that's the morning I took my camera out there and I went to film some flooding. The sheriff's department came over. Richmond lied to the sheriff's department, said they owned the roads, which they did not. The sheriff's department took their word, trespassed me. And so that all happened. Then there was more flooding and stuff going on. But this time I started putting the sheriff department on YouTube. That was when I got trespassed. That's when I called San Joaquin Valley Transparency, and he posted my video and got my story out there. So that's basically that in a nutshell. And
did you go to court for any of this stuff?
No. So that was just trespassed. And then that same day, Richmond sent me a cease and desist letter. Well, now we have the flooding. We got that I was harassing their workers. I was harassing the new people that live there, that I was defaming them, that I was costing them money, and that they were going to sue me. I'm still waiting for them to sue me. I hope that they would.
Okay.
So I'm just continuing to document everything for the next 6 months. And Richmond ended up calling the police on me, or Desert Earth ended up calling the police on me again, saying that I was flying a drone over, harassing them. And then that's when I made the sign, because not only all this stuff was going on, I found out that the first row of homes pointed towards me and my neighbor that was supposed to be single story. They got rid of the provision and they were going to build 2-story houses. Now, I've lived out here for 28 years. Now, we moved out here in rural Homestead to be away from that type of thing. Mm-hmm. We didn't move the city to them or the rural to them. They moved the city out to us. And so I called the county. The county basically told me there was nothing they could do about it. I would have to call Richmond and ask Richmond to go ahead and make it single story. I called Richmond, sent them emails. They came back and said the county approved this. Too bad. This is what we're building. So that's when I built that big, huge fuck Richmond sign. I pointed it towards the development. Richmond called the police on me, said that I was threatening them because I made a video and posted this, put the sign up. As soon as I put the sign up, now this is 4 years in, and all the complaints that I've made, I made complaints. Not only I made complaints about the dust to the EPA in Arizona. I made complaints about the trash to them, and they all said on recorded calls that there's nothing they can do. So I've done all of this. I put up that sign. 24 hours later, I get a letter from Laura Conover's office saying that she is going to fine me $4,000 a day if I don't remove my sign.
For what? There's a city ordinance, I'm assuming.
Well, yes, they said that there was an ordinance and they gave me 14 days to remove my sign. So I went and talked to the other neighbors who weren't happy about this. And I said, hey, I got 14 days to put my sign. Do you mind if I put my sign in your yard each for 13 days? So I had 4 neighbors who said, sure, you can put the sign in my yard. So after 13 days of me ignoring this letter and the sign showing up in my neighbor's yard, here comes the Pima County inspector. And I stop him on the road and the sign's in the back. I got it videoed. The sign's right behind him in my neighbor's yard. And I said, what's your name? What are you doing out here? And he rolls up his window and drives off. Well, so guess what Laura Conover's office does? They changed the sign ordinance to make it only that you can have a 2-foot by 3-foot sign. And they sent every single one of my neighbors a threatening letter that says, if you're going to post somebody's sign in your yard, we're not going to fine them. We're going to fine you.
Tell me who Laura Conover is again, please.
Laura Conover is the head attorney for Pima County. So she works at the attorney's office and she's an elected official.
And she's also the one going after Lane, right?
She's not only going after Lane, but 3 hours before his hearing, she jumped in with Matt Walker's petition to change Rule 22 that we use to audio broadcast. And this, every bit of this is all connected. All these people are conspiring.
All right, let's finish the construction story and then we'll move on to Lane.
All right. So they make the complaint. I put the sign up. I'm not taking the sign down. I'm moving it to my neighbor's yard. I'm assuming that the attorney's office called Richmond and said, hey, you're going to need to negotiate with this person. Because 2 weeks later, the COO of Richmond flew out from Colorado and was at the end of my driveway when I came home. I stopped at the end of my driveway. I told them about all the problems and they, oh yeah, we'll do anything. Now you've got our number. You've got a direct line to me. We'll fix everything. I said, all right, well, the first thing that we do, I'll make you a deal. You make that a single story provision on the front row, pay me for the sign, which at that time it was $2,500. The sign is way, way more expensive right now. But I'll pay me $2,500 for the sign and I'll take it down. They agreed. We shook hands on the side of on end of my driveway. I went right down the end of my driveway, took the sign down, and I hadn't put it up since.
How big was the sign?
6 foot by 20 foot, and it was up 40 feet in the air.
Wow. Oh yeah, it was like a billboard.
It was a billboard. They could see it from the whole development. They could see it in my yard. Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, that's
so. So I figure everything's good. I tell the guys, hey, they're still working out here an hour and a half early. Let's talk to them about that. This was on a Friday. Monday, they're out there working in an hour and a half early. I talked to their boss. The next day, they're out there an hour and a half early. That's when the pedophile confronts me. He comes up, confronts me with a gun in the road because I just go out. I go out in the same spot in the morning, smoke a bowl, watch the sunrise, hang out with the dogs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting out there, and he's out there in his truck driving around, and so I'm videotaping. He drives over, drives behind me, gets out of his truck, and comes up from behind me in a walking fast aggressively. In Arizona, we've got a really strong stand your ground laws here. So I'm
hold on. You also
Yeah.
it's also legal to open carry there, right?
Not for a pedophile. I mean, I'm not. I got
Hold
to
on.
double check,
Generally speaking, you can open carry, right?
yes, but now you got to understand the context is that you're not thinking that somebody that's on a construction site should be coming over armed on his hip with a gun. That's strange.
Let me ask some clarifying questions. Generally speaking, you know, with some restrictions, you can open carry in Arizona. Is recreational marijuana legal in Arizona?
Yes.
And what about possession?
Yes.
Can you smoke in your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay,
Where I
so
was at, there's an easement. There's no. It's not a county maintained road. So
yeah.
that's, you know, it's the whole, you can drink and drive. You can, if it's on an unmaintained road or whatever, you know.
And this PDF
Usually,
file.
but hang on.
Go ahead.
Let me just clarify. So this
Yeah.
point that I was at, I used to walk through where the development was. That sewer easement that I was telling you about used to be a trail for 30 years that I would ride my four-wheeler up and down to the railroad tracks in the morning at the end of the day to come and watch the sunrise. Well, now they've scared me off of going on that still public easement to where I want to go. So now I'm having to drive around the main road and come down in my vehicle. Typically, when I would come down with the dogs, I would come out with a walking stick and we'd be smoking a joint, just walking down the easement. But now that the construction crews are calling the cops on me, I went the other way and I would sit there in my vehicle. And this morning it was January, so it was cold, and I would have been in my vehicle anyways.
All right. And so you're in your car, you're doing your thing you always do, you're not bothering anybody, you're peacefully hanging out with your dogs, you're burning one. And this guy, who is he again? He pulls up behind you, and who is he?
He's the construction worker from Desert Earth, one of them that have called the police on me and been having problems with for
What
5
year? What year is this?
Well, we started in October 19th. This was January of 2022.
So 3 years into this whole debacle, this Desert Earth guy, who you're saying is a PDF file, please use that term, not the other one.
Sure, sir.
And he pulls up behind you. He walks up, he accosts you, which means walk up aggressively, and he's open carrying a pistol, right?
Yeah, and says, "Can I help you?" Like now think about it. I'm in my neighborhood. I've been here for 30 years. Some jerk off construction worker walks up to me with a gun on his hip and asks if he can help me. I told him, I said, "Get back in your truck, man. Get back in your fucking truck." Video. So he gets in the truck, comes around, calls the sheriff's deputy. She comes out with so this now goes back to the first sheriff deputy that shows up that lied about the trash. And in my live stream, you can hear Deputy Lumia, you were the one that lied when you first showed up. So they knew who I was at that point. They had, like, with my lawsuit, I found emails that they went back and were gloating about putting my mugshot on the whiteboard, like all kinds of stuff. So this was no anonymous, random, just some guy out there. So I go down there. That's when I go live. He lies to them and tells them that I came over to him and I was screaming and yelling at him, and I was screaming and yelling at his guys as they were walking into or driving into the site. Now, keep in mind, this road that I'm sitting on where people are driving in, we actually, during the rezoning, requested that they not drive down there, and they weren't supposed to even be driving down there. So the sheriff's never sided with me. And like I said, with this patterns and practices, once they know the who, it doesn't matter the what, when, or the where. And that's what the sheriff department has said. So once they target you, if anybody calls out and they show up, they already know who they're going to be arresting.
Right. And I told you, like, my own county where I live in, Pasco County, Florida, was doing similar targeting people. The Institute for Justice took on the case, and after 3 years, right the day before the trial, Pasco County gives up, claiming that it would be too expensive to pursue it, and they lost, and they found it unconstitutional. And I believe you can use that as precedent where you're at. So I got to pee and smoke. So let's finish this construction story and we'll move on to the Lane Myers stuff, okay?
All right. So the construction story, now I'm spending another $15,000 because they arrested me that morning, took me to jail, kidnapped me, took me to jail. So I'm fighting those charges.
What's the charge? What's the charge?
Disorderly conduct.
Okay.
So then they offer me a plea bargain that I got to pay restitution to this PDF file, and I told them to go pound sand. We'll take it to court. Obviously, I have all the videos, all the evidence of everything that happened. I was there video recording the whole interaction.
I saw it.
So they dismissed the charges on that. And then, you know me, I just been working on my lawsuits and doing some YouTube. And throughout 2022, after that, I ended up moving out of Arizona because I so stressed out. I didn't want to move it, not Arizona, out of Tucson. So I got an apartment up in Phoenix. So I was up there trying to gather all my information because now I'm going to file a lawsuit. I'm pissed off. I'm doing some YouTube. I don't even feel comfortable at my own home. I've been at 30 years. So I move up to Phoenix to get away from everything because the stress is now killing me. Not only that, I mean, let's back up. Let's back up to December of 2021, right before I got arrested. This is when San Joaquin comes out to Arizona with Direct D. And I don't know if you saw the video where my dog drowned in the lake.
No, I wouldn't want to do that.
So my dog drowned in the lake. We ran out there. Direct D helped me save my dog's life. It got 50 million views on my TikTok. San Joaquin got 50 million views on his. You know, so with all this stuff going on, the highs and the lows, I saved my dog's life. 30 days later, my dog gets cancer, aggressive growing cancer. I amputate his leg. I spend like $20,000 trying to save him, and then he ends up dying.
Are you
so I'm
independently wealthy or something?
What's that?
I said, are you like independently wealthy? Where do you get such huge chunks of money from?
Well, I own an air conditioning business, but it's not like I'm rich, man. This is like I'm getting, you know, I'm like Mr. Gold. I've worked very hard for the things that I have, and now these people are taking them away from me.
Yeah, they're trying to break it down.
I don't want to do all this. Obviously, I would spend $1 million if I could save my dog's life. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm doing all that, and I got to stay here. This is what I'm saying. So that after I get arrested, while I'm dealing with the arrest, my dog is cancer and he's dying. So I have the vets here do all of that. Well, he dies on May 4th, 2022. And then that's the next month when I moved out of Tucson because of all this going on, and lived up there until 2020, basically the beginning of 2023. And then filed my lawsuits at the beginning of 2023. Helicopters were flying around me. And then March of 2023, Mr. Gold reaches out to me. And that's when I get connected with Mr. Gold. And you've heard that story. And then...
So you have any charges pending right now over this whole construction matter?
No.
But you are suing them, right?
So I guess I can give an update that nobody's had. So I made a mistake. Obviously, I'm not a legal genius. I'm just a pro se idiot. And
me too.
If I could have found a lawyer to sue the sheriff's department, I certainly would have gotten a lawyer. Yeah, but I got to the point where the statute of limitations was up. I didn't have any other options, and it was either just let it go or try and do it myself. So I filed the 3 lawsuits, been doing as much learning as I can as this is all happening. So I sued the sheriff's department for all the construction stuff. And then this is typically what they call an ongoing tort. And in Arizona, if they show up early this morning, it doesn't matter if it was 5 years ago. It's as if it just started yesterday. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So now as you saw my videos in the last few weeks, they've still been out there working early after 5 years. So I've went to the county administrator, asked them to pull their permit. They've done nothing. So at this point, the only thing I know is that Judge Ball did a temporary restraining order on me, right? To stop me from my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So that's what I think that I should do for them. Well, what I didn't realize is when you do that, you're basically filing a lawsuit. So I almost screwed myself. on my hearing 2 weeks ago, filing the temporary restraining order because I used the wrong mechanism. I shouldn't have used the restraining order. What I should have done was filed a writ of mandamus. And a writ of mandamus, you can force an elected official to take action. And in that noise ordinance at the bottom of it, it says that the county administrator can revoke the permit of the construction company. So what I should have done was filed a writ of mandamus to force her hand to make her pull their permit and revoke their permit. Well,
Okay.
they're almost done with the development at this point. The actual verbiage in the ordinance says that she may pull their permit. So it doesn't say that she shall. So if I go file that writ of mandamus, they're going to argue, well, it says it's may, and then I'm going to have to argue.
So you're wasting your time and money at that point.
Yeah. So I'm going to argue that, well, I got 100 instances. So if may is at some point, if it not with me, how egregious does it have to be? You could argue it, but like you said, they're almost done with the development. I'd be wasting my time. So what I did is I decided not to do that. I filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit and the temporary restraining order, which was granted at the beginning of this week. And in Arizona, if you want to sue a public entity, you need to file a notice of claim 60 days in advance. Okay. So that was the basis for dismissing the lawsuit this week, that I was going to refile it after I add the county, because like we were talking about the Monell claim, the patterns and practices, I'm going to include them in the lawsuit with Richmond and the rest of the contractors. So I filed the notice of claim this week. We have 60 days. If they don't answer in the next 60 days, now I'll be filing a lawsuit against the contractors, the county, in the state, not federal.
Do you still live near the thing, or you said you moved to Phoenix?
No, I had to move back. I mean, I own a business, so it really destroyed my business. Everything slowed down. I had a big, huge contract up here, which allowed me to be out of town. And then apparently they found out about my YouTube channel and everything going on with the sheriff's department. I lost a $500,000 contract through this whole thing. And then so that's where I had to come, basically move back here and try and keep my business going, all while being a pro se litigant and filing 3 lawsuits, making YouTube videos, helping Mr. Gold, on and on.
All right. Okay. Let's take a break. I think I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this. I think I'll play this video. What do you
Welcome
think?
in, everybody. I haven't even said anything to the chat. Welcome in for everybody listening. I know I ramble on a little bit. I'm sorry, but the story is so big. And just to tell you where Mr. Gold, or where Lane Myers fits into this, is he contacted me about Mr. Gold's story in August about that court hearing where it started with him. So every bit of it all ties together. Laura Conover, all these people at Pima County, the sheriff's department. Yeah.
Hold on. That's okay. Wanda Mize. Yes, I've challenged jurisdiction. They laugh in your face. Also, Wanda Mize, when you say you accept jurisdiction, that is an argument that I've never seen anybody win in court ever. Please put a link or something in the chat here where we can go see how to challenge jurisdiction properly. The only person I've ever seen even come close to winning a jurisdictional argument was Mark Stevens, and his website was great, but for the most part, we have a hard enough time just get him to follow the Constitution, much less trying to do this jurisdiction thing, which they just laugh you right out of court. But please educate us and put the whatever it is, and where we should go look to find out how to accept or not accept or challenge jurisdiction, because I've tried it. So, right. Don't just write stuff. Show us somewhere where we can confirm, and show us that someone that's actually won and done it. Because all the people that say this stuff on the internet, they never do it themselves. They just are super arrogant and never show or do it or show any real examples. I know they don't follow the Constitution. So I just wanted to answer your questions from earlier. I'm going to let this video play while we're gone, and then I'll come back, rewind it. I'm not going to be gone long, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And we'll come back and we'll get into the Lane Myers stuff. And Stay with me, all right? All right, brother?
Oh, yeah, I will.
All right.
What's up, Bubba?
Are you there? Mark? You're muted.
Got it.
Was there sound even playing?
Nope.
Oh, what an ass I am. I'm so sorry. All right, let's play just stick your hand up. You want me to pause, okay?
Sure.
Why is there no sound? Why is there no sound? Why is there no sound? I'm so super confused. Huh?
There is. That's the
You can't
thing.
hear nothing, right?
There is no sound.
All right, what song you want me to sing, man? Get this over with. People begging me to sing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Don't ask me. I can't sing worth shit, man.
Me neither, but people want me to for no good reason. I'm gonna try refreshing this. I don't understand why there's no sound.
No, there isn't. That's what I'm saying. There is no sound on this video.
Oh, there's no sound on the video, period.
Yeah, there's no sound.
Why are we watching this?
Because this video is why Lane Myers is sitting in jail right now.
All right, explain while it's playing. All right.
You see that right there scrolling by?
Yeah, Shannon Walker.
That's violating the injunction of harassment and got him another charge of harassment.
What is?
This video.
What about it?
This video is violating the court order.
And the court order is what?
To not have any communication contact with Shannon Walker.
And how is making a video contacting her?
Well, that's how the prosecution is laying it out to file these charges. Now, the way it works in Arizona, so these charges are a felony. So when you get charged with a felony, the prosecutor will bring the charges, then it goes to the court, and then they have a grand jury that looks at these charges and will indict you or not indict you. And I think they have 20 days to decide whether or not they're going to indict you on the charges brought by the prosecution. Now, I may not have all this exactly right, but I think this is how it works. So
let me ask something real quick. When you say a grand jury, now this is a what, 6 or 12 people picked by who? Not just the prosecutors, right?
I don't know. Grand jury is just at the court. They have people that they're pro tem judges, ex-judges. I can look it up real quick and I'll tell you. Let's see.
But the grand jury is not a public thing, right? They don't get the public.
No, they're a private thing. It's a secret thing. So the prosecution brings the charges, and then you would have an evidentiary hearing. You would bring the evidentiary hearing, and then those would go to the grand jury. The grand jury looks at the evidence and says, the prosecution, it looks like you have enough evidence to bring charges. We're telling you that the indictment can go through to bring these charges against Mr. Lane Myers. And the grand jury has already approved their first 14 charges. That's the one that he was going to his hearing for you.
Is there a defense attorney there?
Yes.
So the prosecution and the defense attorney are in front of a grand jury. They're showing this video.
No, the grand jury isn't. No, grand jury's secret. They're not. So you go to your hearing, the evidentiary hearing, and then the grand jury takes this evidence, I guess, and they figure out whether or not the indictment's going to go forward and that they're going to formally charge you with these extra charges. So he's charged by the prosecution for this video, but the grand jury hasn't indicted him on these charges for this video.
In this video, they're claiming what happened. What did this video do?
It shows Shannon Walker.
So what? She's a public official. So what?
She is claiming that she's not a public official because she doesn't have a upfront facing job with the public and doesn't interact with them on a day-to-day basis.
She get paid by taxpayers?
Yes. And if
She's
you
a
look
public
up,
official.
you want to click on the ARS statute real quick. It's 13-105.
Hold on. 13-105.
I would probably put ARS in front of it.
Okay.
ARS 13-105 parentheses 38 parentheses A.
Parentheses, or as my mom says, parentheses. Parentheses
38 and then parentheses A.
Parentheses A. Okay, so we got public servant. Okay, definition.
That's
okay.
Arizona's definition of a public servant, and she falls under A.
So let's see if I can go to the top here. Definitions. This title, unless the context otherwise requires, absconder, act, benefit, calendar, community supervision, conduct, crime, criminal street gang. That's the police. Criminal street gang member. That's the individual cop. Self-proclamation, tattoos. Wow, whoa. Tattoos, witness testimony, blah, blah, blah. Clothing or colors, any other indicia, a street gang membership. Culpable mental state, intentionally, A, with the intent, okay. That's not that A, right?
No, down. It was highlighted when you did it. It was purple. Scroll down. It's 38. You're on 22. It's purple. See it?
Oh, okay. So public servant. This is
that's the definition under ARS for who is a public servant.
Any officer or employee of any branch of government, whether elected, appointed, or otherwise employed, including a peace officer and any person participating as an advisor or consultant or otherwise in performing a government function. That is her to the T, because she is what, a lawyer for Pima County. Is that right?
No, she works at the law school. There's some confusion with Shannon Walker. There's Shannon Walker, and then what was the other one? There's another Walker who is a lawyer for the prosecutor for the Pima County, but this lady's husband is a prosecutor for Tucson City.
Matt Walker,
yes.
Okay, so
but she works for the public Arizona U of A College of Law, and she's paid by tax dollars as a public official. Hey, Foshin.
She's a public official.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hi, Foshin. Welcome. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you guys?
Thanks for coming on.
Hanging in there.
Thanks for doing this, John.
Oh, of course, man. By the way, guys, Foshin is a board member of Transparency Accountability Coalition. And Mark, if you want to become a board member or join us some way, you can also. Anyway,
so here, John, to follow that up,
yeah.
If under Miss Walker is employed by the University of Arizona College of Law, a state institution created by statute ARS 15-1621. And therefore she meets the definition of a public servant under State v. Garcia. Employment by a public entity alone suffices to establish public servant status. So there's no question whether or not Shannon Walker is a public employee. Zero question. We have two Arizona statutes that prove it, along with Arizona case law. So there's no argument whether or not she's a public employee.
She's denying that she's a public employee, though, right?
Well, she's trying to nuance it by saying, well, I don't interact with the public on a day-to-day basis. Therefore, you can't consider me. Again, it's all about feelings. This is all about laws, facts, and we're in the kangaroo court land where all of these judges are basing this off. The judge should have said the same thing I did. Under ARS 13-105-38A, public servant, the definition is this. Under ARS 15-1621, that statute brought about Arizona College of Law. Therefore, you are a public servant. The anti-SLAPP statute is in effect for you as a public servant. Mr. Lane Myers is going to go home today with his family, and you guys should be ashamed of yourself for even attempting to bring these ridiculous charges. Now, that's what impartial judge who actually would look at this in the face and do some due diligence himself. But no, they want to. Shannon Walker wants to say, I don't feel like I'm a public employee because I don't talk to the public. So
who cares how you feel?
Well, apparently the courts and the judges and the people in Pima County, including Laura Conover, we're in DEI higher land here in Tucson is what's going on. These people don't know what they're doing. They're using their law degree to punish people that they don't like. That's what they're doing.
So, Foshin, let's go back to the beginning. And all this stuff in Tucson has nothing to do with him with Lane and that public landowner stuff, right?
No, that's all in New Mexico. This all started with Jordy at O'Reilly's.
Okay. When he needed some bolts for his muffler, they didn't know how to figure it out. He did his usual thing, but he didn't threaten anybody. He said, "I'll wait for you after work."
We actually talked about it earlier. He was actually pretty tame in that. It was the passive aggressive Jordy that kind of went off, and then he went to the Tucson. That was Tucson City Hall, right, Mark? Where he
for the City Hall meeting,
and before he went to that meeting, he declared war on Tucson, and he's basically prophesied everything that's happened to this point. So
the O'Reilly thing got him arrested. That he was charged with what again? Disorderly? What was it?
I believe it was disorderly. I won't remember all these charges,
okay,
but there were 14 misdemeanors. 14 misdemeanors
and that's when the cop said a jury's nothing but 12 dumb people that didn't know how to get out of jury duty, and then he started going Poirier, and then he started going to court and embarrassing the judges and embarrassing the prosecutor, and then he started making phone calls and showing up and everything.
Really, it's I don't know how much of this has to do with it's a very tough read because the way he humiliated Matt Walker would lead a rational person to believe that all of this faux rage from Shannon just could be trying to cover his hurt ego, because he's a laughing stock in Tucson, right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Mark? I'm to understand from the lawyers in Tucson that he is a complete and total laughing stock.
I've heard it from a couple of people, but I don't really know him I didn't hear about him until Lane Myers came about.
And Lane made him look dumb as hell in court. So what happened from there?
From there, Matt Walker filed a Rule 11 against him, which basically was claiming that he was insane. And I think it was the day he filed that or the day after he filed that, he withdrew from the case, didn't even argue his own motion. Then I think MJ Rosidi came on the case, another, that's still City of Tucson, right?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the O'Reillys, because what they did is after Matt Walker pulled himself off, I think that's when they sent it over to Pima County to Samantha Walker. And I think that's the charge. That's the booing. Remember, it went over to Pima County, and then that's where Judge Ball got involved. So it was Samantha Walker. It's so confusing with Matt Walker, Shannon Walker, Samantha Walker, all these fucking Walkers.
But there is a common theme with all of them. They're all corrupt, dirty public officials, state actors. Definitely.
And Matt Walker and Shannon Walker are a couple?
Matt Walker and Shannon Walker are married. Samantha Walker and Matt Walker are not related, as far as we know. They kept the O'Reilly's charges in Tucson City Court. And then since it had to do with the city of Tucson, I think that it was prudent, or they thought it was, to get it out of the city court since it had it at City Hall and sent it over to Laura Conover's office. And then that's when Lane started contacting Pima County. That's when they did that threat assessment thing on him and wouldn't allow him into the Pima County Attorney's office.
Okay.
And then all while this is happening, to jump back to Mr. Gold, in August, Lane reached out to me. That's when we first met. I had a conversation with Lane. Interestingly, that day, I got an order sent through the court. My federal lawsuits, the judge got reassigned. The judge that was reassigned is the judge that Lane Myers worked for. So the first day I ever talked to him, my judge was reassigned to the one that his wife worked for. Then that's when the O'Reilly charges happened. Then that's when the booing happened. Then this is when the phone calls started. Then his wife was fired. The court found out about all of these videos and stuff. And not to get back to mine, but this is when I filed for his wife's judge, since she made her resign. I wanted her to recuse herself from my cases. So I had her recuse herself. We went to the court hearing at Tucson City Hall with, there was the Matt Walker and the Shannon Walker one before that, but we go to the Tucson City Court with the Stacy Jane. That was the other person at the College of Law that Lane called, and he actually had a conversation with her. So that's when we went to court. He crushed her. Her boyfriend was the one who outbursted in court. And then I filed charges on him and dropped them. And that whole mess happened, pissed everybody off at the College of Law. It's my opinion that this is when they all started to plot to, because they were embarrassed to do what they're doing today. So in my mind, seeing all of this happen and being involved with everything, Laura Conover. So my story intertwines with that, with Laura Conover. She knows who I am. She knows who Lane is. They kicked him out of the building. They can't. And the reason why I keep bringing myself into it, because I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't want to charge me, but I think that they probably aren't going to right now, because I have 3 federal lawsuits and it wouldn't look good on them to start filing charges on me. So I think that's why they're harassing Mr. Gold, and Lane is his own guy, and he's doing what he does. 122, broadcasting these things, being able to live stream, making them look stupid. These people are all upset. They have a vendetta. Laura Conover is helping spearhead this thing, the head attorney in Pima County. This is a conspiracy of corruption to railroad one guy into prison for possibly 60 years.
What are the 14 charges? And someone's asking where they can send him some money. I think I put it in the description, but I'm not sure.
You'd be better at
send money to the legal fund. That's where Lane wants the money.
And where's that? Where's the legal fund?
Yeah, hold on.
You'd be better off telling them about the charges. You know them better than I do, Foshin.
I've got the summons. I'll pull it up.
If there's something you want me to put on screen, put it in the private chat. I'll gladly do it.
I think it was 6 felonies and 8 misdemeanors, right?
It's 8 felonies, and it's more now because he got charged with 3 more felonies.
Yeah, but as of his hearing yesterday, it was
8 and 6.
8 and 6. Okay.
Felony what?
Aggravated harassment, and then 1 count of aggravated stalking, fear of death.
For making YouTube videos.
Fear of death. She's a fear of death. She's afraid that somebody's going to kill her. I don't know how. I don't understand how. But
people have threatened on a live me 1,000 times because of the videos I make.
What am I sending you, bro?
Huh?
What am I sending you right now?
We're trying to figure out what the 14 charges were.
Yeah, the platinum ticket. Hold on.
So O'Reilly's, he went to get in some bolts. The O'Reilly's clerks had an argument with him. They call the police. The police show up. Thank you, Wolverine Transparency. Give that to Lane Myers. Okay.
Check your email.
Okay, so they go to he goes to O'Reilly's, gets in a tiff with them. They couldn't find the bolts for some muffler for a geo tracker or something. They call the police. The police come. The girl starts flirting with him. He does his own recording of the girl when he shouldn't have done. This is just from my memory that he shouldn't have done. He got scolded for it by his superior. She was hitting on him, asking him to put her in handcuffs. Right?
Well, those are two different people. But the first thing did happen. He did get scolded because he didn't. He was supposed to submit that to the Axon. The evidence has to go in a certain way, and he was like, "Fuck it, you're hot. Give me your number. We'll hook up later." Because I mean, that guy saw through it. It was all bullshit. What was the crime? There was no fucking crime. Come on, get out of here.
Right.
And then Delorier. It was Delorier that came to O'Reilly's, put her in cuffs on some BDSM shit, and that was it. Told him that he just showed up there to beat up Lane and leave.
And they fabricated a story like he came pounding on the windows, and none of that ever happened. And it's all on video. And it's all on video. He gets to court, and Matt Walker is the prosecuting attorney, right?
Yep.
He embarrasses the hell out of Matt Walker. I think this is basically where I start watching this stuff.
Totally emasculates him.
Yeah, because even though Lane is very up and down and kind of bipolar, which is fine. I wish he didn't outburst the way he does, but
he's just an eccentric guy, you know what I mean?
He's a savant. I would call him a savant. Okay? His mind is a steel trap. He knows the law and the procedure in court far better than these university law graduates, and he embarrassed the hell out of Matt Walker. Let's go from there.
So all that shit happened. Matt tried to fight back, but he was powerless because he's a cuck. He filed the Rule 11, then he quit the case.
Rule 11 is he tried to say that
Lane was crazy.
Lane is crazy.
Incompetent. He was incompetent.
And when the judge said no, Lane's not crazy, they went to a different judge to get that done, right?
No. This was all under Judge Riojas. Judge Riojas saw through all this shit. He knew what was going on. I mean, it's obvious to anybody with eyes and ears, right? I mean, you have to be a prosecutor or a state actor of some sort to not understand this. So, I mean, eventually he gets all of these cases dismissed, all of them. They don't get past, I don't know what stage. Nothing gets past an evidentiary hearing. Everything gets dismissed.
When you say all these cases, other than the O'Reilly's case, what other case?
Well, the charges. So the case, the O'Reilly's case, the booing at City Hall.
Well, okay, let's clarify that now. He went to City Hall. People were clapping, but when he booed, he got removed from what was it?
He got arrested for trespassing. I'm not sure if they tacked on resisting without violence or not, but failure to ID was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was screaming in the back, yelling and shit like Matt Walker at U of A basketball games.
Right.
He was just boo.
While they were clapping, he was booing at the same level.
Less. Yeah. Boo. It was very quiet. Very quiet.
Right.
I think they charged him with passive resistance, is what it was. Passive resistance.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right. So that all gets taken care of.
Yeah, that all gets dismissed too because it's bullshit. But do you want just some additional facts that prove that this is First Amendment retaliation?
Sure.
All right. So Lane Myers has filed a notice of claim against the city of Tucson for the booing cases. Settlements for cases with comparable facts in Arizona range from $200,000 to $300,000. All right. So that's one fact. Matt Walker is assisting the state with the prosecution, the current prosecution. The state disclosed Matt Walker's attorney work product in its disclosure. So the Tucson city prosecutor and husband of the alleged victim is working with the prosecutors and sharing work product. All right.
The state prosecutors.
The Pima County prosecutors. The Tucson City prosecutor, Matt Walker, is working with the Pima County prosecutor. What's her
Who
name?
brought these latest charges?
Rachel Stiles.
Who brought the latest charges?
Laura Conover.
Who brought the latest charges on him, right? That he can't get out of jail for.
These charges that we see in front of us, and the new charges, yes, and the 3 that have him in jail that I don't know if we've seen an indict, the billable, but I haven't seen the summons or whatever the hell it's called and whatever.
Okay.
But I think it's important to say though is that after that the hearing with Riojas and those charges getting dismissed, that's when Stacy Jane, the other person that he called at the law school, and the girl that was flirting with the cop both filed an injunction of harassment. And he ended up when he went to the hearing for the first one, they came in and arrested him. And then he came back for a hearing, and he had his hearing for the injunction of harassment against Stacy Jane and what's her name? The O'Reilly girl?
Mackenzie O'Brien.
Mackenzie. Yeah. So he has that. He wins both injunctions that same day. Then he gets the whole booing case, gets it over to Pima County. Now he's making videos about Samantha Walker, still talking about Matt Walker, with all that stuff going on. Then he goes down to the Pima County Attorney's office to talk to them. That's when he tries to go inside and he sees that bulletin. That bulletin says that he's a threat. He's not allowed in the building. So that's when he walks out on the sidewalk, starts MFing people and walking down the street. That's when the detectives come out, charge him for those crimes. Now that's Laura Conover and the Pima County. So they've deemed him a threat because of this booing case. And now they're going to prosecute him. They don't even want him in the building. Then they walk down the street. They arrest him for these other charges. And he puts out the video that shows that he didn't say what they said in the charges, in the charging documents. So they ended up dismissing those charges. And then now we move to the federal courthouse when he's over on the steps of the federal courthouse and does a video. The federal courthouse says that you're not allowed to be within the bollards. You need to move out to the sidewalk.
What is a bollard?
They're just concrete posts, when you go to the end of the street or something. So they have an opening with bollards for safety so a car can't drive up the front steps.
Okay.
But the courthouse, typically any other time you would be able to stand out front and film. They just don't want you filming inside. But Lane Myers, they said that he couldn't film. Well, once they told him he couldn't film, then they went ahead and the federal government now charged him with failing to listen to a security officer and failing to listen to a marshal. Well, Mr. Gold actually found those charges before any of us. Mr. Gold contacted me. I sent Lane a message as well as put out a video at the same time because the week after Lane was there, I was within the bollards and I was filming one of their guys for 5 minutes, and not one time did they tell me I wasn't allowed to film. So right. I put that video out proving them wrong. They dropped those charges. So all this shit's happening. Charges are coming. Charges are getting dropped. The videos are coming out. And then now let's move to the booing case. That gets to Laura Conover. That gets to Pima County. As you can see, the detectives charge Lane. They had to drop those charges. She's getting embarrassed. I'm embarrassing her for trying to make Mr. Gold sell his home. Mr. Gold is in with Judge Ball. Now here comes Lane Myers into Judge Ball's courtroom and makes him look stupid. Then he comes back
because he lied on his website about his judicial experience.
You got it, correct. So then he comes back. Judge Ball has his big diatribe. It all blows up. Judge Ball has him kidnapped and taken into custody and disappeared for 30 hours, and no answer still has happened. So the court now has culpability. Laura Conover's office has culpability. So what do? They go ahead and dismiss the charges on this guy for that. Because Lane Myers was going to depose the mayor, Regina Romero. So if they would have kept these charges on Lane Myers for the booing case, he was going to be able to depose our mayor. Do you really think the mayor wants Lane Myers to depose him on video and put it on YouTube?
I wouldn't want
So
to be
that
opposed.
We've seen
I
those
think,
depositions.
yes. So I think that's why they ended up dropping those charges, because they knew they were opening up a can of worms. So this is when I think every single one of these people all got together, and the final conspiracy got together to charge Lane Myers with 14 charges and to try and lock this guy away in prison.
I'm trying to find it in the discovery, because it just highlights the level of corruption of these people. Like all the only way that all of this is made possible is because of there's this allegation that Lane is Shannon's ex. This is mentioned in a police report, and that's what heightens all of these charges, right? Because it makes it as if it's domestic, it's a domestic situation stemming from a prior relationship. That's how corrupt and sneaky these fucking dirty cunts are.
So someone claimed that Shannon Walker and Lane used to be a couple.
It says it in the police report. She did. Yeah, she or the cop did. It says it in a fucking police report.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I want to back up and say one thing, too. While this is all happening, now keep in mind, Lane, like I said, Tuck police suck, pigs under pressure. All these guys in Tucson share in using and enforcing Rule 122H. We've all been using it. I think Lane was able to come in, read it from a different angle with a legal mind and say, hey, you guys, not only can you go in there and audio record, you can literally broadcast this. And so I think that changed the game here in Tucson. These private courts didn't want, or secret courts they got going on, didn't want all this to be exposed. So that's when Matt Walker, not only is he conspiring to bring all these charges, and I also forgot that the U of A police also brought charges on Lane for the U-turn. So the city, the county, the University of Arizona, and the federal police in Arizona have all tried to charge Lane, and all of the charges have been dismissed. So with that, Matt Walker makes this petition to the Supreme Court at the end of 2024 to change 122. So instead of informing the court, now you have to get permission.
Yeah.
Well, 3 hours before his first hearing, Laura Conover joined on and said how thoughtful Matt Walker's petition was, and the Pima County Attorney's Office fully supports Supreme Court of Arizona changing 122. Now, keep in mind, not one other city, not one other county has even mentioned or promoted this. And now malicious charges on Lane Myers, trying to change 122. I mean, there's got to be a critical mass at some point that somebody sees this and says, these people are.
Is this Matt Walker right here in this picture?
Yes.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay. And he's a prosecutor for Tucson City.
Yep.
She's a lawyer for the University of Arizona, which is a publicly funded state college, right?
That's right.
Correct.
She's evil.
And she was in the court crying, "Thank you, Judge, for getting blah. People are calling me and emailing me and showing up at my job." And right?
So, we dissected it earlier.
We
dissected it earlier today.
Say again?
To get the injunction, to get the initial injunction on October 9th, she told 33 lies in less than 15 minutes. We documented, we dissected the hearing today. 33 lies she told in less than 15 minutes in order to get the injunction that started this whole thing. So,
did that go through court, that injunction?
Yes, that was it.
And it was dismissed, right?
No.
Oh, he did get an injunction put on him, and he wasn't allowed to make any further videos about her, right?
Yeah, that's on appeal. Yeah.
Okay, it's on appeal. Okay. So, all right.
And
kind
so here I'll add another
Yeah.
add another fact just because it's important for what we just said. The deadline for the brief in the appeal of the injunction is coming up soon. The state is aware of this and made additional attempts to detain Mr. Myers in an attempt to prevent him from briefing the appeal.
and they wanted to put him in jail so he'd have even a harder time fighting his own case, right?
Well, they don't want to. He's already in jail.
Yeah, that just happened what, last night or the night before, right?
Yesterday.
Okay,
2
so
o'clock.
yesterday they come up with all these new crap. They put him in jail, and then I'm watching one of your guys' live stream. I watched them both. I was up till 7 a.m. And
Here,
And-
I know the 3 new charges. Here are the 3 new charges. Prophet just mentioned one a second ago. It was the video where there was no sound at all. All right.
yeah, it's the one I got. That's the one I'm showing right here.
Yeah. The second charge is not for anything on Mr. Myers' channel. It's for a video on my channel. He appeared in a video on my channel, and that is charge number 2. And charge number 3 is the meme.
The one that you made where Lane's like in place of her kids.
Yeah. That Lane didn't make. Somebody shared with Lane.
Uh-huh.
So I was gonna bring it up, but whatever. But he didn't even make it.
So 66% of the new charges are because of something you posted, right, Potion?
It's worse than that. 66% of these charges are because of things that I've done, things that I've posted. We have to go back to the original 14 new charges. A handful of those ones. He's being charged criminally for, obviously, we know, First Amendment protected speech. But it's worse than that. He can't even go on another news station and talk about his own case. It's not like we're going on and we're just sharing pictures of Shannon Walker and busting up on her, right? We're talking about the specifics of the case. We're talking about the merits of the case. We're talking about the perjury, the corruption. We're talking about how dirty. Yeah.
We have every right to do that.
Exactly.
It's
a crime there.
Tell me the first charge of the final 3.
The first one is the silent video. The silent
because of this video.
The publicly available information on Google.
And not because he put this on his channel, and as it's scrolling, she just happens to be in it.
Because he's searching. It's an ironic video, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just go to Google and start searching for Shannon Walker, and you'll come up with the same results. It's public. She's public. She's a state actor.
She can't deal with the fact that she's a public employee. She feels like she's entitled to some type of privacy as a public employee because she
thinks that she has to watch not only Lane's videos, but my videos, and no doubt Prophet's videos as well. She has to. She's compelled to. She's harassed by watching them. She's harassed by not watching them.
Who's making her watch them?
It's like a Clockwork Orange, bro.
Yeah. So all these new charges, sounds like 17 new charges. They put him in jail.
It sounds like I need to be in jail is what it sounds like.
Sounds like we all need to be in jail. All of us.
You know what they need to do is the person who needs the internet taken away from them is Shannon Walker.
For real.
She won't hurt her own feelings if we take the internet away from her. Crazy.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
Do you guys want to hear a 2-minute felonious call?
I don't care.
There's
nothing super crazy cussing or anything.
No. I'm expecting. I called Rachel Stiles.
All right. So in 5 minutes, we're wrapping this up. I'm going to do a quick summary and we're done because I haven't eaten in 2 hours. All right.
I called Rachel Stiles and I left her a voicemail, and I'm wondering if I'm going to.
Tell me again who Rachel Stiles is, please.
She's the one who's. Yeah.
One at a time. Who is she? Potion.
She's the current prosecutor.
Okay, go ahead.
So I go into court yesterday, and I called her last week, but I go into court yesterday because I am going to be a media and film the court hearing. So we start out, and then the judge comes up, and then the judge doesn't want to do the filming anymore. So he rescinds his permission for us to film because of some bullshit.
Right.
And this Rachel Stiles in here, I feel like she set the whole thing up. She's just a wicked, wicked woman, right? Like the look on her face when she knew that he was going to jail. Then they all stood out there. The other prosecutor, it looked like he was trying to film Lane get handcuffed so that they could pass it around in their own little world over there. So yeah, that's who this woman is. And I called her last week. So here's this voicemail. Yeah, I was looking to speak with somebody in the Community Protection Bureau. Is Rachel Stiles in?
That's not coming in very clear.
No, I was trying to get some information about the community. Hang on, let me see if I can get it a little bit louder. Yeah, I'll have to enhance it. I'm going to put out a video with it, but Protection Bureau. Is that better?
Sounds like some John Denver so far. Go ahead. Thank you, Seven Cities.
Warren.
All right.
Can you hear it?
Hold on.
Who are you saying hold on to?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Hi, you've reached Rachel Stiles, Deputy County Attorney. If you could please leave me a message and leave me your case number and a phone number, I will return your call as soon as I can. Thank you. Please leave a message at the tone. When finished, you may hang up or press pound for additional options.
Good morning, Rebecca. My name is Mark, and I am calling to get some more information about the Community Protection Bureau. Just wanted to ask a few questions. So if you could give me a call back, I'd appreciate it. The number is 520. That's what I said. I don't want to give my phone number out. But so I just called her and left a message. So basically what Lane did, and I want to see if they want to turn this. I called her Rebecca. Her name is Rachel. But let's see if they try and turn my phone call into a felony. I mean, seems like what they're trying to do with this whole situation. So that's all. I just called her, wanted to play that. And it was interesting because I wasn't even really calling about Lane. I actually saw one of the videos that he had. And back to that patterns and practices, I found an article from 2012 where the sheriff's department instituted this program where they were targeting individuals in neighborhoods and people that they deemed problems. And that's where when Lane brought up her website, when he was talking about her, it says on there that she meets every week with the Pima County Sheriff's Department about these problem people. So I had called her because of my court case. I'm doing investigation and trying to get information and building my case. So I have every right to call this public servant. So like I said, let's see if she tries to tie it into harassment or any of that. But so
right,
that's
so
how it ties it. Right.
Go ahead. So let me summarize all this crap. Lane's a political prisoner, okay? I believe I have this in the description. The judge, he went to jail last night. He did a Zoom thing where he faced the judge, and the people who were charged before him all faced the judge. One guy held some woman down with the firearm, and he gave him $1,000 bond. Like all these violent people went up before him, and then he goes up there, and his crime is making YouTube videos or something like that, basically. and the judge holds him for 5 days now. It's not now, but as of last night, he held him for 5 days with no bond, cannot get out of jail. And what we want you guys to do, if you can, is email the judge at gswecker@sc.pima.gov and tell him to, because he has an anti-SLAPP lawsuit, which is basically, someone explain what that is. Whoever thinks they can do it better. It's not me, obviously. Anti-SLAPP means
it was a law put in place for news media and stuff because state actors were trying to retaliate and file charges on news media and stuff like that. So they came up with this anti-SLAPP, which is a lawsuit that if somebody brings a defamation case, it's mostly for civil cases. So if somebody brings a lawsuit, like Judge Ball is a perfect example of what a SLAPP lawsuit is for. So instead of this person going through a bunch of hearing and getting exonerated, the SLAPP lawsuit was brought in there to stop all of that. So you don't spend any money, you don't waste any time. The judge can look at this and say, clearly First Amendment, dismissed. Well, in Arizona, there's precedent that was just set last year by the Attorney General that this anti-SLAPP can be used to get rid of criminal charges as well.
So Lane filed this with the judge. The judge still put him in jail. It's supposed to be an emergency thing.
Well,
so it's no, technically it's not an emergency motion. The way I read it earlier is it can be treated as one once the cause is found. Once the I don't know what the verbiage is.
Okay, so what we want people to do is email. I'm pretty sure in the description I have the judge's email. Honorable. I wish I didn't even type that in there. Douglas Metcalf. His email's in the description. I believe his phone number is in the description. If you do email him, do not cuss. Do not say anything racist. Do not say anything violent. Just say, please, I'm a concerned citizen, and I want you to please read in his anti-SLAPP motion. Or at least give him a bond or something of that nature. Don't be violent. Don't be crazy. And then
he needs that email. Laura Conover needs to be CC'd to that email. Rachel Stiles needs to be CC'd to that email. ABC 15 needs to be CC'd to that email. We need to. Everybody needs to be CC'd to this email.
Yeah, Dan Mari's at KOLD. The other thing too is, John, the way this works is this is the motion to dismiss. If this anti-SLAPP lawsuit doesn't stop these charges, he has an immediate appeal with this anti-SLAPP lawsuit. So it's going to stay the case for a little while if he wants it to. But yeah, the judge should be ruling on this. The intent of the anti-SLAPP is to save people from undue burdens of going to court and undue cost. So now we have a man sitting in a cage. So I think that heightens the level, and that should make it even more of an emergency motion, that if this judge is going to rule on something like that, he should be reading it at least this weekend while he's sitting at his home on his comfortable couch, while another man is away from his family and his dogs on a concrete bench because he made some YouTube videos.
Well, that's just it. Like, that's spot on. If he started reading it, he could have only gotten about a page and a half in and would have been compelled to finish because of the outrageous accusations that were being made. I mean, read this thing. It's all over my YouTube. There's links to free copies. So read it. It's outrageous.
This other phone number you put in here, Foshin, let me type this into the thing, 520-448-3426. That number is where you can call and leave a message for Lane, right? You don't have to add a credit card.
No, that's the judge's judicial assistant. Let's fill up that email box over the weekend. Also, make sure that they come into an email box nice and full of messages, packed full of messages.
All right, so let's finish this up. Let's try to get Lane out of jail. Let's get tons of emails. Please give me a list of emails and phone numbers you want me to put in the description of this video. And
to be clear, though, Doug Metcalf can get Lane out of jail right now. He is the only person that has the power to get Lane out of jail right now. And if he was an honorable judge, that's exactly what he would do.
Well, now here's the issue. When he was talking in court, he was talking about the two columns. He was talking about the executive and the judicial. Here is the issue. He only can rule on the first 14 charges because these other charges that he's being held for aren't under him yet.
Because
they would immediately be bailable if all of these charges would be dismissed.
Correct. He could start the chain of events by granting the motion, the anti-SLAPP motion, dismissing all 14 charges. Then when Lane goes Tuesday to his hearing, they can say, look, these other 14 charges have been dismissed under the anti-SLAPP motion. Now these just pending charges that we're talking about, which will probably get dismissed under the same motion, as well as being negated because the appeal going through for his injunction hearing and Shannon Walker lying 30 some times. Like
33.
He could start the chain of events by granting the motion, and that's what he really should do.
So we want to focus our emails to the judge, right?
Yep, the judge and CCing Laura Conover, Rachel Stiles.
You got to give me all those emails so I can put them in the description.
I'll send all that stuff to you, man. I got it handy.
Okay, so let's try to get Lane out, and then also the phone number where you said you can call him and press 5 to leave a message, and all that stuff is inmate number.
So here's what I'll say. I talked to Lane earlier today, and while that's all fine and good, if you're only gonna devote one phone call to Lane, don't let it be to him. He's not interested in that. He doesn't want that.
Okay.
Call somebody that can do something. Call. I don't remember what district he's in. He gave me the names, but I don't have them right now. But his reps in whatever district he's in, District 15 or 17, I can't remember. It'll be on my page later.
I think it's 9.
No, it's not 9. But whatever.
I think it's Chris something.
It's Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Arizona. Talking about circuit courts?
No, we're talking about the district for his Pima County Board of Supervisors.
Oh, district. Okay.
No, I'm talking about like his state rep.
Yeah.
Like emails to the attorney general, email the governor. Don't. If you're gonna place a phone call, Lane doesn't want to hear it.
All right, that's fine.
Let's be productive.
All right, so focus on the judge, and you're gonna send me the rest of the emails. I'll put them all in the description of this video. Everybody send emails. Don't be aggressive. Don't be threatening. Don't be bigoted. Just say, please, judge, this guy's being. There's law here.
Anti-slap. Attach the anti-slap to your email, and just, what more needs to be said? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, why haven't you ruled on this, Your Honor? Are you an honorable judge?
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you, John.
I thank you guys so much, man, for coming on, and we really got to flush this stuff out. And while some people don't like Lane, I don't even like some of the stuff he does, but he hasn't done anything illegal. Okay.
Yeah.
He's well within his rights. He's a savant. He's very smart. He is smarter than these lawyers and probably most Americans, to be honest with you. He just has the outburst thing, whatever. It's his thing, but he's not guilty. He is not guilty of anything. That's it. All right, guys. TAC members, email the judge.
Thanks, chat.
Everybody email the judge. Mark, thanks for coming on. Subscribe to the Reluctant Prophet. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. Subscribe to Reluctant Prophet. Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon. Everybody subscribe to This Is a Public Service. He is doing marathon live streams. I don't even know how you do it. I would need a buffet in front of me just to get through it. Good job, dude. He's also a board member of TAC. Let me see if I could share this real quick. We are both board members of this org. You can just click this join button over here and join for free. We have over 2,000 members, and hopefully when shit like this goes down, we can say, hey, tag members, send an email to this judge. Foshin's going to give me the rest of the emails and contacts that he wants sent. Please check in the description after I get them posted, and we'll get it done. Subscribe to this as a public service, because without this guy, man, you'd have to watch 9-hour-long live streams and parse out all the bowl smoking, music playing, shade wearing, titty flexing stuff that Lane does. And
that's what free the nipple, baby.
What?
Free the nipple, baby.
The Bluetooth
hey, on that note, John, I'm going live at 9. So hey,
dude, I made a joke about because we were up at 5 a.m. watching one of his streams, and me and Freeman were in there, and I made a joke because Freeman's wearing the gloves. I said, Freeman, you shouldn't make those into, I think they're called meefs or prison vaginas. They make rubber gloves into no, they're called fifis.
Yeah. I remember.
I go, you should make your gloves into fifis and sell them as merchandise. And Lane, of course, goes, Felix, how you know about fifis? He reaches behind him. He has one already made. He has one already made, bro. All right. So
that happened. It's true.
Public service. He's going live. If you want more of this, I'm gonna go eat something, smoke some cigarettes. I'll probably jump on his live too, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you. All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Later.
See you. All right, everybody. There you go. 2 live streams one day. Thank you for coming. I'll put all the information in that I can in the description. There's thank you, Brandon Mitchell, for all the work you do in the live streams and being an FBI agent. So everybody grab your fifis and go over to This Is a Public Service and have a good day, man. Thanks for watching. Love you long time. Peace and tranquility. See you.